Greetings, trail maintainers, trail designers, trail planners, and other assorted trail geeks. This is Woody with Trail Wisdom, bringing you some trail wisdom today. I am out for a 2-day backpack. Started on the Pacific Crest Trail at Lolo Pass, which is on the flanks of Mount Hood, and I'm dropping into Columbia River Gorge. I've dropped off of the Pacific Crest Trail on a very popular alternative. I would say most PCT hikers take this alternative, which is called the Eagle Creek Trail. And it drops down through the Eagle Creek Gorge. Lots of spectacular waterfalls, certainly more scenic than the standard PCT, thus why many PCT hikers take it as an alternative. I am in the Eagle Creek Fire. The Eagle Creek Fire was probably about 5 years ago now. Unfortunately, started when a teenager was shooting off fireworks around the 4th of July timeline, and it was very, very dry conditions. And as you can see, the forest burned. It was a pretty big fire. Burned hotter in some places and not as hot in other places. So today we wanted to look at a couple of things. One, talk about Trail Tread watershed, which I've spoken about before, but also anomalies and just, kind of abnormalities within a trail itself. Trail Tread watershed is anything that can drain onto any given section of trail. And obviously, typically in a forest fire scenario, lots is going to change, particularly if it's a very hot fire, and it burns the canopy overhead. Then rainfall is allowed to hit the ground or hit the trail tread, which before it might not have been because of the umbrella effect of the tree canopy overhead. And as you can see, we actually have some live trees left, and we also have kind of a mix of dead trees in here, but certainly, water is reaching the ground more than it ever was before. This fire is, again, 5 years. I'm not exactly sure on that, but as you can see, it started to grow back. I'm sure that first couple of years when it had burned all of the understory, we had way more surface runoff than before when the canopy was, pretty heavy overhead, but then we had some undergrowth. What I really wanted to look at today is just, something that's out of the textbook, and talk a little bit about situations in which textbook and, all the things we talk about, contour and rolling grade and those kinds of things, it gets thrown out the window sometimes. And that's the case here. This is actually called the Indian Springs Trail, which I'm dropping down to the Eagle Creek Trail. And it's been super steep. As you can see, it's dropping, there's a ridge here that's kind of a steep ridge, and it's dropping at probably 20 to 25% average gradient. For quite a while, it's been this steep. It is true fall line, dropping down the true fall line, and that is certainly, not what we would teach you in terms of a trail design class scenario, because it's really, really hard to manage water. But as we can see in the trail tread itself, it is not incised. It is not below grade. It is not eroding very badly at all. Is there a little bit of soil movement? Sure, there is a little bit of soil movement. But there's not a lot of soil movement. And again, it is not incised like we would predict if we were strictly looking at LiDAR and looking at topographic information. We would red flag this trail for sure. But that's why ground truthing is so important. So what are some factors that kind of, we're looking at that really kind of help this trail from eroding worse than it is? First and foremost, it's very low use. This trail predominantly serves PCT hikers. It's too steep for the average hiker. PCT hikers are heading northbound, or the predominant direction of travel is northbound, which means that they're dropping down this trail, not coming up this trail. So low use is a really big factor. More users loosen soil, and that soil is available to be taken away in the next rainstorm. Another factor is rain and how they get their moisture here in Columbia Gorge. My guess is that the rainfall amount here is actually relatively high, but it's mostly mist. It doesn't really deluge like it does, say, in western North Carolina in a big thunderstorm there. Another factor is rock. There's a fair bit of rock in the soil. As you can see, there is a fair bit of rock in the soil itself, and rock is pretty durable. It's pretty durable to traffic and not allowing, what we call user-created impacts. But it's also pretty impervious to water as well. Now, it certainly isn't solid rock here, but as you can see, there is a healthy amount of rock in the soil matrix. And that's another one of the things that is really factoring in to, help this trail kind of hold together, if you will. But one of the big factors, again, is the carrying capacity of the trail. This design has a very low carrying capacity. If use increased significantly, or if, say, we had horses in our mix, which they have significantly higher user impact compared to hikers, this trail would probably fall apart, much faster than it currently is. But right now, this trail is actually holding together. Another factor is that because of low use, it does keep forest duff on it, little pine needles, sticks, those types of things. And again, that's another thing that does protect trail tread from user impacts. So very much an anomaly here. But that's the thing about trails. You can't look strictly at maps. You have to ground truth everything in determining whether a trail is sustainable or not. We certainly would not call this textbook sustainable by any stretch of the imagination, but I would also argue that this trail is having very low impact on the surrounding landscape and natural resources. Hope this has been helpful. It's a head scratcher for sure, but trails are sometimes head scratchers. Have a good day.